That's nice.
Whip Shea Butter is a powerful emollient for dry skin that helps with scarring, eczema, and acne. And as someone who has struggled with all of those things, shea butter has been a godsend. These whip butters can be used for absolutely everything: hair, skin, and nails. And the recipes are very simple with only 3 ingredients each. If you guys want to use the same shea butter that I do, I have it linked in the description box below for you guys, as well as all the other ingredients. Just a little mini history about shea butter and where it comes from. Shea butter is made from nuts that come from the African shea tree, and although this tree can be found throughout different parts of the continent, we're going to be focusing on using sustainably sourced shea butter from Ghana. The first recipe we're going to be making is a whipped body butter. So the 3 ingredients you're going to need are shea butter, avocado oil, and any essential oil of your choice. The shea butter is serving as our skin healer. It's really good for healing scars and hyperpigmentation. Like shea butter, avocado oil has anti-inflammatory properties, which means it's great for eczema, seborrheic dermatitis, acne, and psoriasis. Luckily, shea butter is very soft, so it's possible to whip into a light, fluffy butter without melting it down first, waiting for it to harden in the freezer, and then whipping it. To do that, first cut the shea butter down into smaller pieces. Next, weigh out the amount that you need. I provided the specific measurements in the description box below.
That's nice.
When it comes to mixing the shea butter, I prefer using a stand mixer because it's so much easier, but if you have a hand mixer, it should work just as well. If you are using a hand mixer, keep in mind it may take a bit more effort to whip the shea butter into the consistency that I'm able to get mine to. For the sake of making this process as easy as possible, cold whipping with a stand mixer allows us to bypass the steps that make whipping shea butter time and energy consuming. After you put all the shea butter into your mixing bowl, add in the avocado oil a little bit at a time. Start on the lowest speed and work your way up to higher speeds. Every few minutes, stop to scrape the shea butter down the sides of the bowl and add a bit more avocado oil and begin whipping low to high once again. And you'll basically want to rinse and repeat this process until you get to the texture you're looking for. I do these series of steps 3 to 4 times and typically start at level 1 for a few minutes, work my way up to level 5. Then once the oil looks like it's well combined, I put the speed to a 10 and leave it there for a good while. The settings on your mixer may be different, but as a shortcut, just remember these words: low, mid, high for a few minutes each.
That's nice.
When the shea butter begins to double in size, I form a little well with the shea butter, pour the oil into the center, and whip it again one last time. When I do this, I feel like it allows the oil to be more evenly distributed in the shea butter.
That's nice. That's nice.
Once the shea butter begins to form peaks, you'll know it's reached the perfect consistency. Adding essential oils is optional, but if you are using them, this is the stage to incorporate it into the mix and whip it again for a few more minutes. If you have any active eczema flare-ups, I highly recommend leaving essential oils completely out until it heals, or following my second recipe because I share a more gentle option for a nice scent.
Nice.
Once you're done whipping your shea butter, transfer it into a container. The one I have is a recycled candle jar that's been washed with soap and water and sanitized with rubbing alcohol. You don't have to do all that though, just wash it with soap and water, that's totally fine. Storing it in a glass container is ideal because it's non-porous and it doesn't absorb bacteria. This process took me around 20 to 30 minutes, give or take. It yields a light, fluffy texture that stays consistently the same, and it's very easy to rub in and absorbs relatively quickly. I keep it in my closet because after my shower routine, I typically lotion up and moisturize my body in my bedroom. Storing it there also helps for it to not melt during warmer months. If you do find that you're having issues with it melting, consider storing it in the fridge for it to harden up again. I haven't had any issues with it being in my closet, but you know, each person is different. Since the recipe contains 0 water, a preservative is not necessary, but I do want you to keep in mind that you should be using clean, dry hands any time that you're dipping them into the jar that you're keeping your shea butter in. This is going to prevent it from becoming contaminated with bacteria, getting any still water into our mixture. So long as you do that, your whipped shea butter should be good for about 6 months. For the second recipe, we'll be whipping shea butter specifically for the use on our faces. I swapped the avocado oil for jojoba oil in this recipe because it's great for acne prone skin. It's non-comedogenic, meaning it doesn't clog pores. It also helps to balance our skin's natural oil production and helps to reduce breakouts. I opted to leave essential oils out of this recipe because they can be extremely harsh for the delicate skin on our faces. Instead, to add a really nice aroma without irritating the skin, we'll be using rose wax. Don't worry, it's not the type of wax that people use in hair removal. It's actually a wax that's extracted directly from rose petals. The benefits of using rose wax as our aroma is that it also helps to further protect the skin barrier and soothe irritation. One of the primary functions of the waxy substance found on the outer layers of rose petals is to prevent moisture loss, and that is exactly what it's doing for our skin. We'll begin by melting the rose wax into the jojoba oil. Combine the rose wax with the jojoba oil in a heat-safe container. Grab a larger heat-safe bowl and set that aside. Boil some water and pour it into the larger bowl. Now be sure to avoid getting the water directly into the jojoba oil and rose wax. I made that mistake and I had to start all over again. Carefully submerge the container with the wax into the water, and this is essentially like a double boiler method, but much easier. It's basically melting down in a hot water bath. While the wax melts down, cut the shea butter into smaller pieces. The secret to quickly whip the shea butter is to use a food processor. Add the shea butter evenly around the blades. Lastly, add the melted rose wax and jojoba oil until it's evenly combined. Just like the previous recipe, you want to stop every once in a while, scrape the sides down, and add the oil incrementally.
That's nice.
Although this method is the quickest of the two, the end result of the butter will not be as light and fluffy. The end result is heavier and feels denser, but it melts just as quickly into the skin as with my first recipe. When the face butter begins to set, it will also have a bit of a firmer texture. So if you'd prefer a softer texture, you can either use less shea butter than I did or add more jojoba oil. It's completely up to you. You can customize it however you want. Now, after whipping this butter up, it created about 14 ounces worth of face cream. For this whipped butter in particular, I keep it in my skincare bag and store it away in a closet that is next to the bathroom. I would not and will not ever store it in the bathroom, and I would encourage you to avoid storing this in the bathroom because it is very humid. Definitely do not get any water in this mixture unless you took the time to preserve it with a broad spectrum preservative, but just to keep things simple, keep it out of wet, humid environments. This is a very rich face butter. A small amount goes a very long way, and this cream also works best at night, applied as the very last step in your skincare routine a few hours before bed. Doing so is going to help your skin to absorb the nutrients fully overnight. I prefer to use a Q-tip to get the face butter out instead of using my hands because it helps me to avoid contaminating it and it taking way too much. This face butter is going to last you around 6 months, so long as you follow the same directions I shared with you guys in the other recipe. Whipped shea butter works best for me when I use it as a second layer of moisture on top of a water-based lotion. I put a light layer of unscented lotion and top it off with a small amount of shea butter. This keeps my skin hydrated and protected for 24 hours. And for my cuticles, I follow the same exact steps. Apply lotion, a small amount of shea butter, and massage that in. If you have extremely dry cuticles like I did, this is going to be your nail's best friend. Once I moisturize my entire body, I lightly dab off any excess before getting dressed.
That's nice.
For my hair, I'd love to use this to moisturize and style my edges. It could also be used as a hair butter, but this whipped shea butter is so soft and luxurious. It feels like an absolute treat, and I hope you get a chance to try at least one of the recipes. Subscribe and share with a loved one for more videos like this, and I'll see you next time. This Sunday reset is all about taking a full self-care day. I'm going to be sharing a full body pamper routine to gently cleanse, exfoliate, and moisturize our bodies, a nourishing at-home facial using clean, simple ingredients, as well as a calming calming wind down routine to decompress and feel refreshed and ready for the week ahead. I swapped regular face wash out for some 𝐿 𝐶 powder about 4 years ago, and I have not looked back because nothing has healed breakouts the way that this has, and it's been excellent, evening out my skin tone as well. So recently I began adding pineapple and strawberry powder for their ability to exfoliate, break up congestion. It's made a huge difference.